In December of 1980, there was yet another incident near a military site. This time at RAF Bentwaters, Woodbridge, England, home to American Air Force personnel. An internal U.S. Air Force memo confirms the incident. Charles Holt wrote it from first-hand experience.
In 1980, I was assigned to RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge. It was a combination twin base complex. I was assigned as the deputy base commander. On the evening of the 29th of December, we were having the Combat Support Group Christmas party. We'd just finished dinner when the police lieutenant on duty came in just white as a sheet and said, "I've got to talk to you and the base commander right now." And he said, "It's back." We looked at each other and looked at him and said, "What's back?" He said, "You know, the UFO, it's back."
3 days beforehand, there was a sighting witnessed by many security police.
We crossed Bentwaters, not the back gate, to the Woodbridge base. We proceeded on into the forest to the area where this supposed landing had taken place several nights earlier. There were 3 indentations in the forest, equal distance apart. So I had the disaster preparedness NCO start to take readings. While we were in the process of getting readings, which by the way came out much higher than background radiation, somebody noticed something in the forest, a light. The light was bright like the sun. It was glowing, but it had a dark center, and it appeared to have something dripping off it like molten metal. The light was about 15 or 20 degrees off to our left, almost directly in front of a farmer's field. As we approached the fence, the edge of the field, and were watching this object, it suddenly exploded. Now, there was never a sound the whole time. It burst suddenly into 5 objects, 5 white objects, and disappeared. And at that time, we noticed there were several objects in the sky, 2 to the north and 1 to the south. They were brightly lit, multicolored, and they were moving very rapidly together as though they were in formation. We watched them for several minutes, and they kept doing this. We turned and watched the object to the south, and suddenly it came toward us at very high speed. It stopped and sent down a beam like a laser beam. It fell right at our feet. It stayed on for several seconds, and just like a flashlight, it clicked off. Managed to get a bit of communication through to the command post and asked them to check with Eastern Radar, who had air defense for that sector. They came back and said no, they weren't painting anything on the screen, but they couldn't explain and wouldn't say a whole lot more. I never saw anything as far as an alien being or anything could be considered human or humanoid or anything of that nature, although I had a distinct feeling, in fact, I'm firmly convinced that the objects we saw were under some type of intelligent control.
3 days earlier, base patrolmen claimed they made actual physical contact with a UFO.
I was called at the Chow Hall to go out to the East Gate. It was about 12 o'clock at night, and I proceeded out there. When I arrived there, there was 2 police units there. They were pointing over into the wooded area, about 300 yards approximately off the East Gate. We seen a glowing white light with some yellow and some blue in it. It was, the closer we got, the more intense the bright white light emanated out of it. We got to the edge of the forest, and it was bright enough to make you squint. We were approximately about 60, 70 yards away from the craft. As I got maybe within 10 meters of the craft, it was apparent that there was no aircraft that I've seen. It was triangular in shape, like a pyramid, about 9 feet by 9 feet by 9 feet, approximately about 6, 7 feet tall. The fabric of the craft was a very smooth, black glass-type fabric. Underneath the craft, there was what appeared to be some type of landing struts or landing gear, and they left a triangle impression in the ground. The colors that were still moderately covering the edges of it were red, blue, and yellow. As I proceed up to the craft and got beside of it, I noticed a writing of some sort or description of some sort on the side of the craft. Undecipherable. I didn't know what it was. The craft itself was warm. I observed the craft probably for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes on the ground, checking it out, encircling it. Then about 15 minutes later, the craft started moving back towards the trees and the woods, back through the woods. And it probably went back probably about 200 feet. We never really got really close to it again. The craft raised up through the trees, and in a blink of an eye, it was gone.